Misaki Joe, 17 years old, junior national champion of New Zealand. This is her first junior Grand Prix season, only 7th after the short program. You can see the costume may give away the theme of this program. She'll skate to music from John Williams' Memoirs of a Geisha.
Great choreography sequence to conclude the program for Misaki Jo from New Zealand. And that's a 17-year-old who 2 years ago had a career-threatening knee injury, and she was determined not to let that injury set her back. So wonderful to see her here.
Yeah, and it's interesting. I have a question for you, Mark. You're a choreographer and you work with skaters. How do you know that, or how do you assess the music for a skater? What do you how do you pick that music to suit the skater's development as we take a look at some of the elements here?
Well, I say that nice to relax to open the program. It's such an interesting question because I think it's so dependent upon the aspirations of the athlete. You can see here Misaki is obviously fixated on getting the technical content done, here the double loops, and that's so important when it comes to securing bigger points for the choreography work, here the flip, then it depends really the music choice. You're squeaking out the double flip, double loop, just a single toe loop on the end. The judges request a demonstration of understanding of the music, and so it's a safer route to pick music to choreograph for a skater if it suits the style of the skater, or if the skater is engaged with that kind of music, because your chances then of them showcasing that understanding of it to a judging panel are increased. Then there are occasions where we're here on the Junior Grand Prix circuit where if the coach and the team behind the athlete have a long-term athlete development plan, they may choose to do something that is outside of their comfort zone to help advance them, as we see Misaki with Ricky Cockerell, who was a former New Zealand World Championship competitor, in the kiss and cry with her. So it depends really on the aspirations for that season and how that fits into the skater's long-term athlete development plan, really, I think.
Yeah, and some skaters are just naturally, they take a piano or they play an instrument, so music is natural for them. They sense it, they hear it, they feel it. And for some, it's just, they might be tone, not aware, and it might be very difficult for them to connect to the music. So you have to sort of read into that as well and pick the piece of music that can make them shine as best they can where they're at with their development.
And that then the job of the choreographer can be so dependent upon the skater's musical awareness. I was teaching a girl recently who is a phenomenal pianist, and so the choreography for me was so simple because she could find all sorts of nuances within the music, but then you can sometimes have a skater who can't hear the beat, and consequently the choreographer's job is way harder. So you can't, sometimes we say, well, that's a great choreographer, we'll reference these names that repeatedly crop up on the ISU biogs, but like Miki Ando, Miki Ando choreographed this. She's a two-time world champion herself. She worked with Misaki on this. It's great choreo, but the choreographer's job remit can be so much more difficult and challenging dependent upon the skater's musical awareness.
You might see a beautiful piece of choreography on a skater that's not so strong. Why? Because it made the skater look better, because they matched the choreography and the music to where that skater was at, and they delivered it beautifully. And then you might see a wonderful skater who maybe doesn't have strong choreography. So it's a very complicated, we're talking about this, the complications of a coach's life, a choreographer's life, and it's very difficult to develop an athlete with so much detail that needs to be worked on. It's confusing.
And sometimes the choreographer might lay down a great program, but the coach knows that they need the skating skills to show more power and speed, so they axe a lot of the choreography. But team effort, and you just got to make those executive decisions. Sometimes the choreographers can feel a bit hard done to when they see their transitional content removed, but it's a points game, and
keeping your eyes on the long haul, on the long term. So sometimes you have to have that skater who's comfortable with a particular type of genre try something different that they may not feel comfortable in, but you need to learn all these different approaches, find out what's going to work for you the best at the end of your career.
Yeah. And many of the skaters that we're watching will hopefully go on to become coaches, choreographers themselves, or continue to perform. And so the more you throw at them choreographically and from an interpretive and expressive perspective, the more all-rounded they'll be for their future. But do you play it safe? You could argue, well, play it safe, pick music that's more likely to give them the best points in the moment in that season. So
really interesting background to Ricky Cockerell. You should take a look at Ricky's bio on Google, and he's a very interesting young man, has done a lot in his life and is in skating as well. So we want to highlight these coaches as people, as well as the difficulty of coaching skating or any high performance sport. Let's take a look at the scores for Misaki Jo from New Zealand. 52.91 for the free program. And that is up from her personal best. And now 78.62 for the competition. That'll put Misaki currently in the first place.